Hey guys, welcome to the infamous Sylvia. We're live doing the reenactment of what happened on August 30th at the Robert Sylvester Kelly's New York District of New York trial. All right, we are going to get started. I just hope everyone is doing well. All right, you guys are ready?
Yep.
Yep.
You start us off?
What page we on?
1714.
1714.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hold on. Okay. And who am I?
Oh my God, look at your name on your thing, ma'am.
Okay, Suzanne. Okay.
All right, guys, we're sorry. All right, we're ready. Let them roll. All rise.
Hi, everybody can have a seat. All right. Can I just see the parties at the side on the application from this weekend with the court reporter?
Hey, somebody has somebody in the background.
All right. Are we ready for the jurors? Do we have a witness? We don't? Do we?
We do, Your Honor. We don't have a witness currently on the stand.
Okay.
I thought you were asking if we had a witness here and ready.
That's what I meant. I couldn't remember how we finished on Friday, but now I do. All right, let's get our jurors. Which witness is testifying?
Addie, Your Honor.
Do you know which binder that's in alphabetically?
1. May I get the witness?
You may as well start bringing her in. Yes.
All rise. You may be seated.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I hope you had a good weekend. We are ready to begin. I just want to see counsel for a minute off the record about scheduling. Okay, before we start, I know last week I told you we would be working Friday. We're only going to be working until 1 o'clock. I think we are moving along at a good pace, but we are going to stop at 1 o'clock on Friday, just if that figures into your plans at all. All right? The government has another witness. Are you ready to call?
Yes, Your Honor. The government calls Addie to the stand.
Please stand and raise your right hand. Thank you. You may be seated. You can take off your mask.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's just make sure the microphone is working. Is it on?
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Silver, that's
On the
you.
top.
Now it's on. Great. Just a couple of things before we begin. Our court reporter takes down everything that everybody says, and so I'm going to ask you to speak slowly, just to make the court reporter job a little easier. And for the same reason, Don't talk over whichever lawyer is asking you questions. Just wait until they're finished with the question and then give your answer. If there is a question that you don't understand or you would like to have it repeated, let me know and I will have the lawyer rephrase it, okay?
Okay.
And then finally, just do your best to answer only the question that you are being asked, okay?
Okay.
Go ahead, Ms. Cruz Melendez.
Thank you, Your Honor. Called as a witness having been first duly sworn affirmed, was examined and testified as follows. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm showing just the witness what's been marked for identification purposes as Government Exhibit 56. Do you see that there?
Yes.
Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what is it?
A picture of me.
And approximately how old were you in this photograph?
In my teens, probably around 17, 18.
Your Honor, the government offers Government Exhibit 56.
I'm going to remind the witness, just keep your voice up.
Okay.
That's better. Great.
No objection, Your Honor.
In evidence?
Your Honor, both permission to publish to the jury and to the public.
Sure.
I'm now showing just the witness what's been marked for identification purpose as Government Exhibit 56A. Do you see Government Exhibit 56A there?
Yes.
And is that the same photograph that was pictured in Government Exhibit 56?
Yes.
And is that your true name listed at the bottom of the Government Exhibit 56A?
Yes.
The government moves to admit.
No objection.
Okay. That's in evidence. Mr. Canick, do you mind turning on your microphone?
Your Honor, we ask that it be published just to the jury.
Okay.
I'm now showing the witness only Government's Exhibit 56B. Is that the same picture as in Government Exhibit 56 and 56A?
Yes.
Okay. Is that your nickname, Addie, listed underneath there?
Yes.
The government moves to admit Government Exhibit 56B.
No objection.
That's in evidence.
We ask that it be published to both the jury and the public, please. Addie, where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Bronx.
Anywhere else?
Also grew up in Florida, in Miami, Florida, Homestead.
What kind of hobbies did you have growing up?
I had hobbies in dancing, singing, acting, and I also like to write poems, songs.
What types of dance did you enjoy doing?
Ballet, modern, jazz, breakdancing.
Did you graduate high school?
Yes,
After graduating from high school, what, if any, schooling did you have?
I got my AA degree from New World School of the Arts.
What's an AA degree?
It's an associate of the arts.
What kind of school is New World School of Arts?
It's a conservatory school.
Can you explain? Please explain to the jurors what a conservatory school is.
It's a
Conservatory.
school where you go for either dance, theatre, music, or performing arts.
And what did you study while you were at conservatory?
I studied dance theatre.
Did you graduate from conservatory?
Yes.
Now, you testify that growing up you enjoyed dancing, singing, and acting, and that you went to a conservatory for studying performing arts. Were you interested in pursuing dance or other performing arts as a profession growing up?
Yes.
And did you, in fact, pursue dancing or singing and acting professionally?
Yes, I did.
And in what ways?
The performances, shows, went on auditions, did a couple of writing music-wise as well.
Did you book any jobs as a dancer or singer or actor?
Yes, I did.
What kinds of jobs?
I booked some jobs with performances. One, like Lyricist Lounge, which was an opening act. Another one was production work as written Law and Order here in New York as well.
In addition to your degree from the conservatory, do you have any other degrees?
Yes, I do.
And what kind of degrees do you have?
I have a degree in business,
What kind of degree in business?
mostly general international business law.
And are you employed?
I'm self-employed.
And how are you self-employed?
I run 2 businesses.
What kind of businesses?
One is in multimedia production and business development. The other one is a car business.
Are you familiar with an individual named Robert Kelly, as known as R. Kelly?
Yes,
And I'm showing you what's in evidence as Government Exhibit 1. Do you recognize the individual in Government Exhibit 1?
yes,
And who is that?
that's Robert Kelly.
And prior to today, have you met Robert Kelly in person?
Prior to today, only one time.
Now, do you see Robert Kelly in the courtroom here today?
I probably over there, but I need to see the faces. The marks are hiding their face. Yes,
Can you point him out and identify an item of clothing he's wearing?
he's sitting right there in the blue blazer next to the gentleman with the striped tie.
Indicating the defendant.
Now, you previously testified that you met the defendant on one occasion. Where did you meet the defendant?
I met the defendant at a concert.
And where is the concert?
The concert was in Miami, Florida.
And do you remember what venue the concert was held at?
It was called American Miami Arena. The name of the concert was Budweiser Fest, Superfest.
And Miami Arena? Where was that?
It's in Miami, Florida.
Sitting here today, do you recall the date of the concert?
It was in September 1994.
Now, at the time that you attended the concert, how old were you?
I was 17 years old.
And were you attending high school at the time?
Yes,
Were you at high school in Florida?
yes. It was Homestead High.
Do you recall which grade you were in at the time?
Junior high.
Now, you mentioned that you went to this concert at the Miami Arena. How did you obtain tickets to the concert?
My mom had friends that worked at Power 96 that gave her VIP tickets.
And did you get the tickets from your mom?
Yes,
Okay. And what's Power 96?
Power 96 is a radio station.
What kind of tickets did you have for the show?
It was an all access passes, VIP.
I'm showing just the witness what's been marked for identification purpose as government's exhibit 201. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Addie, do you recognize what's in government exhibit 201?
Yes,
And what is it?
it's a program from the concert.
The concert you went to in 1994, September?
Yes,
Your Honor, the government moves to admit.
Any objection?
Can it?
I'll
No
be in. May I
objection.
see?
No objection.
All right, that's in evidence.
Permission to publish, Your Honor.
Yes. This can go to the jury and the public.
Now, you mentioned that the concert, you recall that the concert was a festival involving Budweiser. Is that correct?
yes,
Now, do you see the name on government's exhibit 201 of the concert?
on top of the brochure.
Okay. What is that name?
Budweiser Superfest.
And you had previously mentioned that you recall the concert occurred in September of 1994.
Yes,
Looking at, well, first and foremost, what do you see here in the center of the government's exhibit 201?
that is the access pass that was given to me and my best friend for attending.
And here does it say 1994?
Yes,
And at the top, it says Budweiser Superfest 2, all access.
yes,
Looking at all access pass here, does that refresh your recollection as to the date of the concert?
yes.
What was the date?
September 2nd, 1994.
Now, did you attend the concert alone?
No, I attended the concert with my best friend.
How old was your best friend at the time?
She was 19.
How did you and your friend get to the concert?
My mom lent me her car.
And so, did you drive to the concert?
Yes, I drove.
Was the defendant the only performer at the concert, or were there other musical acts?
There were various artists at the time.
What artists do you recall were scheduled to perform at the concert?
Well, the main artist that I went to go see was Aaliyah. There were also, I believe, Salt and Pepper came. There was also Heavy D. I believe also Coolio. There was another artist, but I don't recall.
Now, you testified that you had wanted to see Aaliyah at the concert.
Yes, that was the main reason why we went.
Were you a fan of her music?
Yes, I was.
Did she perform at the concert?
Unfortunately, she didn't perform.
And did the defendant perform at the concert?
Yes, he did.
And were you a fan of his music?
It was okay.
Prior to this concert, have you ever been to any of the defendant's performances?
No,
Do you recall what you were wearing at the concert?
yeah, I was wearing sneakers, a pair of white shorts, and a t-shirt.
Now, you previously testified about having all access passes for the concert. Do you recall where your seats were for the concert?
Yes, the right side of the main stage, near, like, the access towards the back.
How close were you to the stage?
We were pretty close.
And what section were you in?
We were in right, I would say maybe the third row seating from within the VIP.
Within the VIP section?
Yes,
Did you and your friends stay for the entire concert?
yes, we did.
And approximately how long did the concert last?
About 2 hours.
Do you recall who the closing act was for the concert?
Kelly was the closing act.
And can you explain to the jury what happened after the concert ended?
When the concert ended, like a couple of minutes afterwards, there was some gentleman that approached me and my best friend, asking us if we would like to go backstage to get an autograph.
And when they approached you, did they ask who you would be getting?
Objection.
Well, sustain as to form. What did they say to you?
They asked me if I wanted to go, and my best friend wanted to get autographs from R. Kelly.
And can you describe the two men who approached you and your friend?
They were African American, looked like bouncers.
Now, prior to being approached by these two individuals, had you intended to go backstage?
No,
Now, they mentioned getting an autograph from the defendant. Prior to that, had you gotten any other autographs that time?
in the VIP section, there were other artists there, and we were getting autographs from other artists as well.
Do you recall who you got an autograph from?
Luke was one of them, and I believe there was another artist, but I don't recall.
I'm showing again Government Exhibit 201. Do you see Government Exhibit 201 on the screen?
Yes,
And is there writing on Government Exhibit 201?
yes, that's the autograph from Luke.
Who is Luke?
Luke is a rapper, more explicit rapper.
Where did you get Luke's autograph?
He was in the VIP section where we were sitting at.
Now, you testify that two men approached you and they asked if you wanted to go backstage to get an autograph from the defendant. Had you intended to go backstage prior to that?
Objection.
I think you already asked her that.
I did, Your Honor. Why hadn't you? I think you testified that you hadn't intended to go backstage before that. Why hadn't you intended to go backstage?
We weren't. I didn't intend to go backstage because during the performance, I think towards the end, they said you can come. Women can come backstage if you're over the age of 18. So I automatically assumed because I was underage, I wasn't able to go back there.
Who said you couldn't go backstage unless you were 18 years old?
R. Kelly made the announcement at the end of his performance.
Where was he when he made that announcement?
On stage.
Now, at the time that the two men approached you asking if you wanted to get the defendant's autograph, did they ask you how old you were?
No,
Did they ask to see any identification?
no.
And after the two men approached you, did you then go backstage?
Me and my best friend followed them backstage. Yes, into a dressing room.
When you got to the dressing room, did anyone check your identification?
No,
When you got to the dressing room, did anyone ask you when you first got to the dressing room? Did anyone ask you how old you were?
no,
When you entered the dressing room, was the defendant in the room?
yes. He was in the room being interviewed by media. There were other publications that were there.
Now, aside from the media, who were you interviewing the defendant and the men who had escorted you into the dressing room? Were there any other concert goers in the room?
No, it was mostly just media.
So, what happened once you entered the room?
Me and my best friends followed the other guys. The two bouncers had escorted us there into the room. And then once we got into the room, pretty much he stopped his interview and approached him. And that's when we engaged in a conversation.
Now, when you approached the defendant, did he acknowledge you?
Yes,
And what, if anything, did you say to the defendant?
I pretty much went up to him with my program to see if I could get him the autograph.
And did you, in fact, get the autograph?
Yes. He asked me for my name, and I let him know my name was Addie, and he was signing the program.
So I'm showing you what's in evidence as Government Exhibit 201. Hold on, y'all. I'm sorry, y'all. What line are we on?
20.
21. 20 or
20.
21.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Right.
I'm showing you what's in evidence as Government Exhibit 201. This is the other side of the program, correct?
Correct.
And do we see here on Government Exhibit 201 the defendant's autograph?
Yes.
And where is that?
It's in the right upper mid portion of the program.
Here, where I have my pen indicating.
Yes.
And it says here to Addie.
Yes.
Who wrote that?
R. Kelly.
And how did he know to write that?
I told him my name.
When you were speaking with him, when he was signing your program, what, if anything else, did you discuss?
When I approached him, I pretty much told him my name. He signed the program. I told him that I was an aspiring artist as well. He also wrote down a room number, suggesting to come to his hotel for an audition.
What, if anything else, did you discuss?
Basically, towards the end, I also told him that I wasn't sure if I was ever even allowed to be in the room because I was 17 years old.
Now, you previously mentioned that the defendant wrote down a room number on the program.
Yes.
Is that shown on Government Exhibit 201?
That's on the bottom right side.
Here, where I have my pen.
Correct.
Can you read that for the jury?
Room number 1031.
And what was that a room number to?
To a hotel.
And what, if anything, did the defendant say to you about this room in this room number in the hotel?
He verbally told me what hotel it was. I don't recall the hotel, but he wrote down the room number as well on the program.
Now, you also testified that you spoke with the defendant about the fact that you were interested in dance and that you were a dancer. What, if anything, did the defendant say to you about that?
Well, that's the whole purpose of him. I'm assuming writing down the room number was for me to go after to do an audition or to talk about maybe future opportunities.
Did he speak with you about possible future opportunities?
He engaged with me quickly about going to the hotel to do an audition later and also mentioned something about an after party.
So, what happened after you got the defendant's autograph and had this conversation with him?
As soon as I had told him that I thought I was underage and I was 17 years old, he didn't respond about my age. He would speak to whatever bouncers, and quickly after that, they had everybody escorted to the room.
And when you say they, what do you mean? Who are they referring to?
The two gentlemen that R. Kelly had talked to.
And so, who left the room?
All the media that was there basically stopped doing his interview and they escorted everybody out.
Did you leave?
No,
What happened? What about your friend? Did your friend stay?
yes, she stayed as well.
How did you know to stay?
They told us to stay.
Who is they?
The bouncer said to just stay here, and he was engaging with us. And then he had everybody else escorted out of the room, out of the dressing room.
So once the interviewers were out of the dressing room, who, if anyone else, was left in the dressing room?
There was only R. Kelly, me, and my best friend.
Can you describe the dressing room?
When you enter into the dressing room, on the right-hand side, there's audio equipment that was mobile. Towards the back side of the room, there's a dressing area where I guess you can put your makeup on and get ready for your performance. On the left side, there was just a wall. In the middle of the room, there was a bunch of chairs where they were giving interviews with him.
So what happened once you and your friend were alone in the dressing room with the defendant?
Basically, we start engaging. It was very subtle, and we started talking. He wanted to play a game practically and asked if who can kiss better.
Prior to him asking you who could kiss better, what did you discuss?
He was talking about a new song he was working on for a soundtrack called Low Down Dirty Shame. Not sure if I have the right movie soundtrack, but he went to the equipment, the audio equipment, and started playing a song. The lyrics of the song went something like, homie, love a friend, which is the only thing I kind of remembered from that, from the single soundtrack that he was playing.
So you testified that after you had spoken, the defendant said that he wanted to see which one of you kissed better.
Yeah, well, when he played the song, that's when he started, like, I guess, pretty much saying, I want to know which one of you can kiss better.
And what happened next?
He started kissing on my best friend.
And did she kiss him back?
Briefly, but then he kind of started kissing me. He stopped with her and then started to kiss on me.
And did you kiss him back?
At first, and then I felt a little overwhelmed. So I started pulling away.
Now, when the defendant started kissing you, what, if anything, did you? What was your reaction to that?
At first, initially shocked.
How much time passed between when the defendant started playing the music and then when he said to you and your friend, I want to play this game, seeing who could kiss better?
It was during throughout the song.
So after the defendant started kissing you, what happened next?
He started getting a little more aggressive and basically kind of moved towards the back of the room, which was facing the dressing area. And that's when he started engaging in like holding my wrists and then unzipping my pants and pretty much pull them down and started having sexual intercourse with me.
So you mentioned that the defendant moved you. Where did he move you to?
We were in the middle of the room, and then he started guiding me towards the back of the room.
And you testified that the defendant pulled down your shorts and started to have sex with you. Where were you? How were you positioned?
I was facing in front. I was in front of the counter, and he was behind me.
And when you say that the defendant started to have sex with you, what do you mean?
He had sex with me, unprotected, and penetrated my vagina.
What, if anything, did you say when the defendant penetrated your vagina? And I'm sorry, what did he use to penetrate your vagina?
His penis.
And what, if anything, did you say when this happened?
At this point, I was in complete shock, and I was kind of just very introverted and shy and didn't know what to expect or what to say at all. Just basically went blank.
Did your friend participate at all when the defendant began having intercourse with you?
He grabbed her hands to try and make her participate, but she refused.
At some point, did the defendant finish having intercourse with you?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you do once the defendant was finished?
Basically, I pulled everything back up, and me and my friend we went to the door, unlocked the door, and ran out of there.
And what happened once you ran out of the dressing room?
We were in the parking lot, and me and my best friend were discussing about what happened with the situation, and my best friend wanted me to call the police and press charges.
And how were you feeling at the time?
At the time, I was very scared and nervous. I didn't feel comfortable about talking about the situation, and informing the police was something that it was very uncertain for me to do at that time. I didn't even know if they would believe me. I didn't want to get victim shamed.
And so at that time, did you report what happened to the police or any law enforcement?
No. I assumed that if I were to move forward with that, I wouldn't be able to move forward with my career and be blacklisted from the industry.
Your Honor, one moment. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, cross-examination?
1 second, please. Your Honor.
Sure.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. You testified and told us that you attended this concert in September 1994.
Yes.
Now, when you first met with the government, you gave when you gave them a different date. Did you not?
No.
Isn't it a fact that you told the government that this concert was in 1992?
Not that I recall. No.
Not that you recall?
No.
I am going to show you this document and direct your attention to the highlighted portions within the red line and see if it refreshes your recollection. If you told the government that you went to this concert in 1992,
I don't recall.
you don't recall.
No.
It's on the document though, right?
Yes.
And when you did, in fact, speak with the government before coming here for testimony here, right?
Yes.
And when you spoke to the government, they took notes. Am I correct?
Yes.
And you were the only person giving them information. Am I correct?
Yes.
And in fact, when you were there, you had that program. Am I correct?
Correct.
How long have you had the program?
Since I was 17 years old.
So you had that program for, according to you, 25 years?
Yes.
And that's if the concert was in 1994. If it was in 1992, it would be 27 years.
I don't understand the question.
Well, you had it since if you had it since 1992, that would be 27 years that you had the program, right?
But I didn't. It was 1994.
Okay, now, where did you keep the program?
I had it with other memorabilia in a box.
So someone raped you, according to you, and you kept that program as a memorabilia?
That box has been in.
I didn't ask you that. Someone raped you, and according to you, someone raped you, according to you, and you kept the program as a memorabilia?
The program was in a box. Yes.
Now, you testified that you didn't believe that anyone would believe your story about the supposed rape. Remember telling us that?
Yes.
Now, you hired a lawyer. Am I correct?
Yes.
What's the lawyer's name?
Leon Walsh.
This is the lawyer?
Yes.
He's here with you today?
Yes.
Now, did you sue R. Kelly?
No.
Do you plan on suing R. Kelly?
No.
So you just happened to invite this lawyer to come and watch you testify?
Legally, I needed representation. Just
My question.
One minute, guys. His thing bounced off. Spitting Fire, you want to take over?
Okay. 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 My question is, did you just happen to invite this lawyer to come and watch you testify today?
Objection.
You should just let her finish the answer, please.
Sure.
I hired a lawyer to make sure that legally I was represented.
Where did you hire the lawyer? When did you hire the lawyer?
I don't recall the exact date.
Did you hire the lawyer after the documentary called Surviving R. Kelly?
It was actually prior to that.
It was prior to that. Now, when you hired the lawyer, did you at any point go to the law enforcement before hiring the lawyer?
Yes, I did.
What year did you go to law enforcement?
I believe it was January of 2019.
So January of 2019. So if this happened, according to you, in 1994, 95 went by, am I correct?
Correct.
When you went to the law office? When you went to law enforcement?
Correct.
96,
Yes.
97,
Yes.
98, 99,
Yes.
2000.
Objection, Your Honor.
I think she said she hired the lawyer in 2019. So
basically, let's do the math. 2019 minus 1994. How many years went by before you went to law enforcement?
I don't know. Like what? 25 years?
25 years?
Yes.
Now, during the entire time, you were traumatized, right?
Yes.
You were humiliated, right?
Yes.
And that humiliation and trauma did not cause you to go to law enforcement until 25 years later?
Hello? The mic is off.
maybe you want to put the question again. We had to change the battery. Do you mind reading back his question?
I didn't go to law enforcement because I didn't want more victim shaming and more trauma at that time.
At that time?
Yes.
Now, there comes a time that the victim shaming, according to you, didn't bother you any longer. Am I correct?
I'm an adult now, so no. I'm no longer a little girl.
Well, you were not an adult in 2001. Am I correct?
Everybody deals with trauma differently.
I didn't ask you that. You told us that you were an adult. Now you're no longer a little girl. And my question is, you were an adult. You were an adult back in 2001. Am I correct?
Yes.
2002. Am I correct?
Yes.
2000.
Objection.
2005. Am I correct?
Overruled.
Yes.
2010. Am I correct?
Yes.
2015. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. You listened to a person called Kim Fox. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Kim Fox is a prosecutor in Chicago. Am I correct?
Yes.
And Kim Fox went on the news and said, anyone has information about R. Kelly, contact me or go to law enforcement. Am I correct?
I believe that she said, any victim to please step forward.
And according to you, you hired your lawyer before that. Am I correct?
I'm not sure if it was before that or afterwards.
Okay. So now you're not sure.
Well, it took me some time to find a lawyer.
Okay. In Miami, Florida, it took you time to find a lawyer.
Objection.
Sustained.
How long did it take you to find a lawyer?
I don't recall. A few months. Like a few months. Yeah.
Where were you looking?
First of all, trying to find someone who actually handles this type of case.
No. My question was, where were you looking?
Objection as to form.
I'm not entirely sure that it is relevant. But I guess the better question might be, what process did you use to try to find an attorney?
Referrals? I also looked at the Florida bar. And I also looked at other victims online and looked to see who their lawyers were. Oops, sorry, that wasn't me. That was
No,
somebody.
carry on. It's fine.
Now you testified and said that according to you, that R. Kelly signed that program or put information in that program.
Yes.
What time did the concert end when you went to see him?
I don't know what time the concert ended.
What time when you actually left this room that you said he was in?
I'm not aware of the time. There was no clock in there. So I'm not aware.
What time did you get back in your car?
I'm not aware of the time.
Now, who drove you to the concert?
Excuse me?
Who drove you to the concert?
I drove myself.
You sat with an adult, am I correct?
Yes.
The adult who gave you the tickets, according to you, am I correct?
Yes.
And when R. Kelly announced, according to you, that females were invited back to get an autograph, but there was an age requirement of 18, did you mention to the adult that you were going backstage?
I don't understand the question.
You testified and told us that R. Kelly made an announcement that he was giving autograph to folks who were over 18.
No. I said he gave an announcement that you could come in the back dressing room if you are 18 and older.
If you're 18 and older?
Yes.
And did you tell the adults that you were going backstage?
Everyone in that room was an adult.
No. My question to you is that did you tell the adults that you were with that you were going backstage to get an autograph?
I don't understand the question. What adults are you referring to?
You testified earlier and said that you were seated next to adults who, to an adult who gave you the all access pass. Am I correct?
My mom gave me the access pass. She wasn't present.
Okay. And my question is, was there an adult with you?
No,
You and your girlfriend were attending the show alone?
my girlfriend was 19 years old. I was 17 years old. Yes, it was a family venue.
My question was, you and your girlfriend were attending alone without any other adults?
No, there was no adults.
Okay. Now, and according to you, R. Kelly had sex with you and you ran out of the room?
Afterwards, yes, we left.
At first, you left?
She said afterwards.
Afterwards, we left.
And you sure he didn't sign the program before you left, according to you?
No,
When was it in the possession that he signed the program?
he signed the program when the room was full with other personnel there. He stopped the interview and was signing programs during that time.
And you said press was in the room.
Yes,
You also said that you were escorted back to the room by African American bouncers.
that's what they looked like to me. Yes,
What does African American bouncers look like? What does African American bouncers look like?
Objection. I will sustain it as to the form. Do you want to ask her what a bouncer looks like?
Well, she described the person as African American bouncers. So,
Why did you think they were bouncers?
because they were part of his entourage.
how do you know they were part of his entourage?
Because they communicated.
So that's the only thing that made you come to the conclusion that they were part of his entourage.
Well, they were the ones that escorted everybody out of the room when he asked them to.
So you don't know if they were working for him or for the venue.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, but you make this statement that they were part of his entourage and that they were African American bouncers. Am I correct?
I don't understand your question.
You just testified a short while ago that you didn't know whether or not they worked for him or worked for the venue. Remember telling us that?
I'm assuming if they're engaging with him and communicating with him and he's telling them orders, that yes, they were for him.
So your testimony here is based on your assumptions then. Am I correct?
Well, they are the ones that brought us back there.
No, that's not. My question is that your testimony is based on your assumption Am I correct?
My testimony is based on my experience.
What line are we on?
10.
14.
14.
14.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, kicked out. You testified and told us that you hadn't been to an R. Kelly concert before. Remember telling us that?
Excuse me, can you please repeat?
Do you remember telling us that you had not been to an R. Kelly concert before?
That's correct.
How many concerts had you been to before attending the R. Kelly concert?
I never went to another concert before.
So what experience are you talking about?
Excuse me? Experience as far as what? The concert?
You said that you're basing your experience and you had never been to an R. Kelly concert, right? Court?
He is asking you about the bouncers.
Oh. They approached us and they guided us to his dressing room.
Now, I asked you earlier about what adults, if any, that you were seated next to in the concert was a member of your party. Remember me asking that?
There were no adults with us.
Okay, now, you remember in that interview you had with the government, you told the government, just a second, that you and Lily stayed in the VIP section along with her mother's friend. Remember telling that to the government when you had the interview with them?
No. There were no adults with us.
So if the prosecutor's office wrote it down in their report, they got it wrong. Am I correct?
I don't know. I didn't look at their report.
You didn't tell them that during your interview. You didn't tell them that during your interview. Am I correct?
I don't understand the question.
What I just read to you, according to you, you didn't say that during the interview to the government. Am I correct?
No, there were no adults with us.
Okay. And you will concede, however, that you did have a meeting with the government and told them what you said happened to you on that particular night. Am I correct?
Yes.
And you will also concede that the people who were in the room when you gave that information are at this table. Am I correct?
Yes.
And you will concede that as you imparted the information to them, that they wrote it down. Am I correct?
Yes.
You saw them writing. Am I correct?
Yes.
May I just have a few moments, Your Honor?
Sure.
Do you remember at some point speaking with someone by the name of Mayweather?
No.
Isn't it a fact that you told the government that you eventually spoke to someone by the name of Mayweather and that person helped you to make contact with the right people?
No.
And again, if that's in the report, the government made an error, correct?
I have no idea.
Now, may I have a second?
Sure.
Now, before you came here today to give your testimony, you had met with the government. Am I correct?
Excuse me?
Before coming here this morning and speaking to the jury, you spoke with the government and went over your testimony. Am I correct?
Yes.
How many times?
I'm not quite sure.
Well, when was the last time?
Yesterday.
And how long was that?
I'm not certain. I didn't keep track.
Now, do you have an approximation?
Probably an hour.
Do you remember what time you got there into their office?
1 o'clock.
Do you remember what time you left?
No, I don't recall.
And your lawyer was with you. Am I correct?
No,
When was the time you met with them before yesterday?
probably another time. Sometime last week, I believe. I don't recall.
Sometime last week?
Yes,
Okay. And how long was that meeting?
around the same time.
What is the same time?
I don't know. Like maybe an hour.
An hour?
Yeah,
And all of these people were there. Am I correct? When I say these people at this table,
not all.
not all of them,
Yeah,
the majority.
I don't understand the question.
You don't understand the question of what majority means?
Mr. Canick, please do not do that.
Objection.
Objection.
He wants to know, do you recall which of those people at the government's table, do you remember which ones were at the meeting? This is the last week meeting.
Yes.
Okay, the meeting last week.
Probably 2 at the table. 3.
And before last week, before the meeting that were discussed that occurred last week, when had you met with them before that?
Probably the first time when I let them know about the situation.
In that sense, it's your testimony that you met with them about 3 times?
I would say, yeah, that's a good number. Yes.
And according to you, you met with them about an hour yesterday and an hour at the time previous to that. So the 2 hours? What about the first time you met with them? How long was that?
First time, I believe like an hour as well.
Okay. And before coming in and giving testimony, had you ever spoken with them over the phone?
No.
So basically, all your meetings with them have been face to face?
Yes.
And in their preparation of you to come and give testimony, Did they discuss your prior statements that you had given?
Excuse me?
Did they discuss with you your statements that you had given them on a prior occasion?
Oh, basically just prepping me to understand how the system works, to understand testimony.
Well, they did more than that. They went over the questions that they were going to ask. Am I correct?
There were no set questions.
There were no, they didn't discuss with you yesterday what they asked you here today.
Not in a set format. No.
I'm not asking you about the format. I'm asking you, did they discuss with you yesterday the questions, the subject matter that they asked you here before?
They discussed the topic and subject matter.
And did they discuss with you the questions that you would likely be asked on cross examination?
There's no way to know what the question is.
They didn't tell you, well, you may be asked this question by the other lawyers.
No.
They didn't tell you that the other lawyers is going to likely ask questions of you.
I don't think they know what you're going to ask.
That's not my question.
No.
My question is, they didn't tell you what the other lawyer
No.
would likely.
No.
Let me finish, please. They didn't tell you that the other lawyer is likely to ask you questions.
Of course. Yes. You're likely to ask questions.
And did they go over what questions they anticipated the lawyers to ask?
They let me know what cross-examination was about.
My question is, did they go over with you the questions that they anticipate you being asked?
Yes.
So they did. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Any redirect examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Addie, have you ever spoken publicly about what happened to you in September 1994?
No.
Beyond the scope, Your Honor.
Sorry, I did not hear.
Beyond the scope.
Overruled.
Now, defense counsel asked you a question about the individuals who approached you and your friend about getting an autograph from the defendant. Do you recall those questions?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Do you recall the defense counsel asking you questions about two men who approached you to see if you wanted an autograph from the defendant?
Yes.
What made you think that those two men worked for the defendant?
Because they came straight to us. Asked us would like to go to the dressing room to get autographs.
From R. Kelly? You got to finish the sentence.
From R. Kelly, and escorted us straight to him.
Now, the defense counsel also asked you about statements in a report saying that you once stated that the concert happened in 1992. Had you ever seen the report that the defense counsel showed you?
No.
Government Exhibit 201. Do you provide this to the government?
Yes.
Is this the pamphlet that you had on the date that the defendant pinned your arms and had sex with you?
Yes.
Is there any doubt in your mind that this is the pamphlet from that concert?
No.
If I could show the witness and the jury and the public government exhibit 201, is there any doubt in your mind that this is the all access ticket that you used to get into the concert?
No doubt in my mind.
And what is the year listed here?
1994.
And what is the date?
September 2nd.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Any recross?
Just briefly. The pamphlet?
Yes.
The pamphlet that you just testified about, did you take that pamphlet with you when you had your interview with your initial interview with the government?
Yes.
And did you give it to the government on the date that you had your initial interview?
Yes.
Now, you were born in November of 1976. Am I correct?
Correct.
So basically, on the date of this concert, according to you, the concert you supposedly attended, you were 17 and 10 months?
I believe so, yes. My birthday's in November.
And do you recall the announcement that you had to be 18 to go for the autograph? Am I correct?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you so much. You can step down. Are you ready to call your next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The government calls Derek Stevens.
Derek, say the last name again.
Stevens.
Stevens.
Judge, I understand the witness is just using the bathroom.
And now everybody knows.
Is that the clerk, Gary Stevens?
Mm-hmm.
Having been first duly sworn in exam. Okay. Clerk, okay. The clerk. Okay. Please state your name for the record and have a seat.
Okay. Just a couple of things before we begin. Our court reporter takes down everything that you say. So try not to speak too quickly and just let whichever lawyer is asking you questions finish speaking before you start speaking. It just makes it hard when we talk over one another. If there's a question that you need to have repeated or that you do not understand, let me know and I will have the lawyer rephrase it. And just do your best to answer all the questions that you are being asked, okay?
Thank you.
Is that on the microphone? It sounds like it. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Stevens.
Terry?
Good morning.
Your first name is Derek, correct?
Correct.
Do you go by any nicknames?
Divine Stevens?
And did you receive a subpoena to testify here today?
Yes.
Do you want to be here today?
No. No, ma'am.
How old are you?
51.
Are you currently employed?
Yes.
What do you do?
Music management and artist development.
And do you own your own business?
Yes.
How long have you worked in the music and art development?
30 years.
Where are you based?
Atlanta.
Are you familiar with an individual known as R. Kelly?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you met with him personally?
Yes.
Have you worked professionally with him?
Yes.
What is his real name?
Robert Sylvester Kelly.
Do you see Robert Kelly in the courtroom here today?
Yes.
Can you point him out and identify by an item of clothing he's wearing?
Blue suit, tie.
Indicating the defendant.
Yes.
Around when did you first meet the defendant?
First met the defendant 2013 2013.
And how did you first meet him?
I was introduced to Mr. Kelly through a lady by the name of Cheryl Mack.
And I'm showing you what has been marked as identification as Government Exhibit 38. Do you recognize this person?
Yes, I do.
Who is that?
Cheryl Mack.
I move to admit Government Exhibit 38.
No objections.
All right.
All right. In evidence.
I'm being told it may have already been in evidence, so I apologize. May I publish it, please?
Yes.
And in 2013, what, if any, relationship did you have with Cheryl Mack?
She was my assistant.
So she was working for you?
Yes.
And around when did Cheryl Mack, become your assistant?
I want to say in 2013 as well.
And what were Cheryl Mack's responsibilities as your assistant?
To handle my everyday affairs, my itinerary.
And when you say day-to-day affairs, what do you mean?
Just day-to-day calendars in terms of setting up meetings and things of that nature.
And how was it that you ended up meeting with the defendant through Cheryl Mack?
Cheryl introduced me to Mr. Kelly as a mutual producer, a friend's house.
And whose house was that?
Lil Ronnie.
And was it your understanding that Cheryl Mack had known the defendant from before?
Yes.
You testified you were introduced to the defendant at Little Ronnie's house. Is that right?
Correct.
Where was that?
In Atlanta.
And did you speak to the defendant at the house?
Yes.
And what did you discuss with the defendant there?
We just talked about different businesses, talked about music, talked about the legacy of R. Kelly.
And what do you mean by that?
Just in terms of what he was at musically and where he was trying to go.
And what, if any, did the defendant say to you about that?
Objection.
Overruled.
Go ahead, you can answer.
Just more like, in terms of growing his business. That's mostly what we spoke about.
What, if any, did you agree to do for the defendant after meeting him at Little Ronnie's house?
I agreed to bring different collaborations, features, just business dealings, and help with his career.
When you first met with the defendant, where was he based?
Chicago.
And did that change at some point?
Yes.
How did it change?
Moved to Atlanta.
Who moved to Atlanta?
The defendant.
And where did the defendant initially stay when he first moved to Atlanta?
I think he may have stayed at a hotel, somewhere like, it may have been Homestead Suite or something.
And while you were working with the defendant, did he use your residence?
Yes. I mean, he used my residence for recording and fitness training. And, during the course of the fitness training, playing basketball was part of the training physical.
At the time, what kind of residence did you have in Atlanta? Can you describe it for the jury, please?
The residence was an artist development residence. It had studios on both sides, the left and right, and 4 regulation NBA basketball courts in the house.
And do you also live in that house?
Yes.
After agreeing to working with the defendant, what types of things did you do with respect to the defendant?
In terms of the fitness part, could you repeat that again?
What type of work did you do for the defendant?
Just business deal. I was able to work out a deal with Live Nation for touring. I also different collaborations with artists features also help consult in the process of his negotiations with RCA,
You mentioned Live Nation. What is that?
a touring booking company,
You mentioned RCA. What is that?
a record label distribution company.
With respect to the deal you put together for Live Nation, what was that?
It was bringing in the agents, bringing in Phil Casey, and Phil Casey went to Al Heyman and worked out a deal for a tour that was supposed to go on with him and Miss Mary J. Blige,
When you say him, who are you referring to?
Mr. Kelly.
Did that Live Nation tour in fact take place?
No, it never took place.
What happened?
I think at that moment, Mr. Kelly started playing second tier markets and never did the. I'm going to object to the response.
Did you set up the dates?
I set up with I set up with agent Phil Casey. I brought him in to set up the dates.
Do you know what happened? Whether they went on tour?
No, there was no tour.
There was no tour? All right, next question.
Was any money paid for the tour?
Yes, my understanding, the first half of the money was paid.
To whom?
Mr. Kelly?
Were you involved at all in setting up any other tours, working on other tours with the defendant?
I think the very first one may have been the Black Panties tour.
What, if any, did you do with respect to that?
That was just kind of just negotiating with the gentleman by the name of Blackie and dealing with promoters.
Keep your voice up.
I'm sorry.
Who is Blackie?
At the time, he was the partner. He was the partner and also active CPA, I think. At the time, I think he was handling the business account, the business manager at the time,
Who did you understand Blackie to work for?
Mr. Kelly.
With respect to the deal with RCA that you mentioned, did you work with anyone else? Did anyone else that worked with the defendant on that?
Yes, Miss Linda Mish and Red Light Corin Capshaw, I think.
You mentioned Linda Minch. Who is she?
At the time, I think she was the active attorney,
For who?
Mr. Kelly.
You mentioned Red Light. Who is that?
Corin Capshaw was the management for Red Light.
Is that a management company?
Yes,
Did they work with the defendant?
yes,
I'm showing you what is marked up for identification for Government's Exhibit 44. Do you recognize this?
yes.
Who is this?
Miss Linda Mish.
Move to admit Government Exhibit 44.
No objection.
That's in evidence.
May we publish it?
Sure.
At some point while working for the defendant, did Cheryl Mack role change?
Yes, because Mr. Kelly, yes, she became Mr. Kelly's assistant.
Did she no longer work as your assistant?
No, correct?
Was she off of your payroll?
Yes,
You testified earlier that the defendant used your resident at certain points. Is that right?
yes, correct.
In what ways did he use your residence?
To actually train playing basketball and recording.
What that in one of the recording studios in your residence?
Yes,
Did you ever attend any basketball playing that the defendant did at your residence?
yes.
Did you play in any games?
I played a few games. I got a few rebounds, kicked the ball out.
Can you explain in the games that you attend or played and what was set up, what the setup was?
It was kind of us training plan.
Can't hear him. We on line 10. He probably got kicked out.
It was kind of his training, playing basketball, always people around, a few people in the gym while we were all playing.
What, if any, unusual things did you notice about people in the gym watching?
I think it was always kind of like people around, but Mr. Kelly will always have women watch him play.
Where did they sit?
They would actually sit in a corner, like kind of away from everybody, kind of isolated in the corner.
What, if any, did you notice about that?
I mean, if the ball kind of rolled over by them, and you had to get the ball, they would actually like kind of like cross their legs and look at the ceiling or look at the wall.
That was when someone was approaching to get the ball?
Approaching to get the ball.
I'm showing you what was marked in as evidence as government's exhibit 4. Do you recognize this person?
Yes.
Who do you recognize that to be?
Junebug, the security personal assistant.
To whom?
Mr. Kelly.
Showing you in evidence of government's exhibit 18. Do you recognize this person? Do you recognize this?
Yes.
Who is this?
Security. Hammer.
He went by the name Hammer?
Goes by the name Hammer.
Security for whom?
Mr. Kelly.
Did there come a time when your business relationship with the defendant deteriorated?
Say it again.
Did there ever come a time when your business relationship with the defendant ended?
Yes.
Why did it end?
It ended because after negotiation of his last recording agreement with RCA, I sent in after working on the deal with Red Light and Linda Meesh. I sent in my invoice first, and then the invoice got rejected in terms of what compensation was supposed to be.
So were you paid at all?
No, I was never paid.
After you sent in the invoice and were not paid, what, if any, did you do?
Actually, at that point, I called my attorney, and then my attorney reached out to Linda Meesh, and the response came back. Mr. Kelly said he doesn't owe you anything.
And prior to that, had you attempted to reach the defendant yourself?
Correct.
And what methods did you use to do that?
Text message.
Sitting here today, do you recall what number you text the defendant at?
Yes, I can recall what number.
You remember the exact number?
No, I don't remember the exact number.
I'm showing the witness only what is marked for identification as government exhibit 255A. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
What is this?
That looks like the screenshot from my cell phone, Mr. Kelly's number.
I move to admit government's exhibit 255A.
No objection.
That's an evidence you can publish. Thank you. At the top, it says R3K. Who is that referring to?
Mr. Kelly.
And what is the number you had saved in your phone for him?
312-972-7283.
Is that the number you text?
Correct.
I'm showing the witness only what is marked as identification as government exhibit 255B. I'm showing you the page first, and then the second page. Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
Generally speaking, what is the exhibit?
Say it again.
Generally speaking, what is this exhibit?
A conversation that I was having with Mr. Kelly.
Is it a text message conversation?
Text message? Yes.
And is this screenshot from your phone?
Yes.
Move to admit government's exhibit 255B.
No objection.
That's in evidence. You can publish.
Thank you. Starting with the first page of the exhibit, the text in white with the black background in white. Who is that from?
That's from Mr. Kelly.
Are your response in blue?
Correct.
Looking at the text message that the defendant sent you, what date is this from?
November 25th, 2014.
And what were you working on around that time?
At that time, that was the renegotiation of his agreement
With whom?
with RCA.
And was that something you were working on?
Yes.
And looking at this text message that he sent you, what was this about?
What I can recall, I think it was about the team, the whole team working together. Because I think at this point, I was was working on more music, just trying to formulate the team really, is what the conversation was about.
When the defendant texts you, I just called her and she didn't pick up, but I text her. Who did you understand her and she to be in that sentence?
Linda Minch.
On the bottom of the first page, do you write a response saying agree? Let's go fourth quarter down by 10.
Correct.
What did you mean by that?
Let's get it going. Just trying to motivate him. Let's close out and keep moving forward. Go down by 10.
Close out what?
Any deals or bring the team together. Whatever we needed to do to keep it moving.
I'm going to show you in a moment page 2 of Government Exhibit 255B. I asked that this be for the jury only be. At the top of this, is the top just a continuation of the text from the defendant that you were looking at on the first page plus your response that we just went over?
Yes.
And then the series of the text messages underneath that, are those all text messages from you and the defendant?
Correct.
And the first one is that date, November 25th, 2014.
Yes.
And you wrote King. Are you still there? Yo.
Yes.
And why did you send that?
I think at the time he stated that he was going back to Chicago and he'll be back. I was just wondering, was he still in Atlanta?
Then the next text message here from March 21st, 2015, is that right?
Correct.
What did you write there?
King, you good? Because I wasn't getting any response.
Had you had any communication with the defendant between November 25th, 2014 and March 21st, 2015?
No.
When you said King, who are you referring to?
Mr. Kelly.
The next text message is that from you to him to the defendant on July 23rd, 2015?
Yes.
And what did you write there?
You ready? Here I come.
Why did you write that?
Just letting him know. I think at that point I received a letter back from, I think I sent a letter back from Linda Minch stating that the work that I had did, that I wouldn't be compensated.
Did you send another message on August 21st, 2015?
Correct.
Did it say, without saying the name, does it say a certain name there?
Yes.
And what is to speak after that name?
A rat emoji.
You sent that to the defendant?
Yes.
You mentioned that you at some point retained a lawyer in connection with your dispute with the defendant.
Yes.
Did you ever end up filing a lawsuit against him?
No, I never filed a lawsuit.
Why not?
Objection.
Sustained.
I'm showing you what is marked for identification, Government Exhibit 75. I'm going to stop you. Is this a good time for your morning break? Oh, I'm sorry. That's the court.
Miss Shada, I'm going to stop you. Is this a good time for you, a morning break?
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll break for about 10 minutes. Please don't talk about the case. We'll see you in a few minutes.
All rise.
The witness can step down. Whereupon the witness step down. Do you know how much longer you have?
A few minutes.
And then, is this your witness, Mr. Canick?
Yes.
Do you think we'll fit in another witness this morning?
I'm pretty confident we'll at least be able to start another witness.
We'll be in recess then. You may be seated.
The witness is reminded he's still under oath. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm showing you what is in evidence as Government Exhibit 75. Without saying this person's name, do you recognize this person?
Yes.
And do you know this person's full name without saying?
Yes.
I'm showing the witness only what's marked as identification as Government Exhibit 75A. Is this the same photo I just showed you?
Correct.
And does this have this individual full name underneath?
Yes.
And is this the name you know this individual by?
Yes.
I move to admit Government Exhibit 75A and will ask to publish it to the jury only.
Any objection?
I thought it was in evidence.
I thought so too.
It's slightly different. May we publish to the jury only?
Yes, go ahead.
For the purpose of your testimony here today, we're going to refer to the person in Government Exhibit 75 and 75A as Jane, okay?
Okay.
Have you ever met Jane?
Yes.
Around when did you meet her?
2020.
What were the circumstances under which you met her?
Jane contacted me through social media. I want to object to the relevance beyond the scope of the charges here, and
You can just say objection. Objection is overruled. You can go ahead.
she contacted me through social media to ask me, objection.
The conversation is, I'll sustain it.
For what purpose were you meeting with Jane?
To help with her career,
Music career?
music career,
When?
2020?
2020.
What, if anything, did you learn from Jane regarding your text with her name and the red emoji that you had sent to the defendant?
Objection.
Can I see the parties on the side with the court reporter? I read the materials on this, and here's what I think. You're going to lead through this. You want to bring out the fact that he wasn't trying to say that she was a rat, correct? And to send a different kind of message to Kelly. The problem is the message that he wants to send the defendant is, I know you're messing around with the younger.
I was avoiding asking the question because of the hearsay objection. What I'm trying to get is a prior consistent statement that Jane had made to the defendant about what happened. To this witness about what happened after the defendant received the text.
I think it's relevant because there was testimony from her.
Do.
I don't remember if there was cross-examination. I think there was about this message with the rat. I think it's relevant to show that he was not trying to get her in trouble, which I think is the purpose for bringing it out. Is that right?
Your Honor, Jane testified when she was on the stand that after the incident that occurred after the defendant received his text from Divine Stevens, where he then hit her, including with a shoe. So I'm I think if he permitted to respond to this question, he will indicate that she told him that happened. That's what I'm trying to bring out as a prior consistent statement.
I think he lost again. He went out again.
Okay.
Shall I read it?
Yeah.
No. Is he back? He's
Okay,
back.
I'm back in.
Okay.
What number we on?
Four.
4.
Number 3? Oh, number 4.
4.
You can't bring out a prior consistent. You can't bring out a prior consistent statement without the witness having been challenged as to an application.
Was she? That's what I don't remember.
She was challenged wholesale on everything she said during the entire testimony, including that she was not in fact hit, that this is all made up by her. So that's what I'm trying to elicit.
I think, though, that even under that theory, the motive to fabricate has arisen by the time she makes this statement.
I'll move on.
Go ahead.
No further questions.
Cross-examination.
Brief.
Everybody makes that promise.
Be doing dual. You testified and told us earlier about these basketball games where you got a few rebounds. Yes. And passed the ball out? Yes, sir. People were in the audience to watch those games. Am I correct? Yes, sir. Describe the gym for us. It's kind of like one way in a sense. Let me see if I can help. Bleachers? Yes. Like seats, bleachers. Then there is the goal underneath there, kind of like a cycling bike and other things, and chairs isolated underneath on the right side of where the basketball is. You testified and told the jury that Mr. Kelly would have females with him at the games. Do you remember telling us that?
Let me do that part. I don't mean to cut you off. Let me do that part because then that's going to confuse people with the same voice.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, go on.
Okay, yes.
Those females would be in those chairs. Am I correct?
Correct. Not in the bleachers.
Not in the bleachers. In the chairs?
Yes.
Did you notice people smoking weed in the bleachers?
No.
No? You played in all games?
A lot of the games, yes.
You never saw folks drinking in the game?
No, sir.
Did you see other celebrities at the game?
There have been other celebrities.
Usher?
Yes, Usher was there.
Celebrities come through fairly often. Am I correct?
Yes.
In fact, you notice and associate with a lot of celebrities. Am I correct?
Yes.
And they would come to the game.
Yes.
When the young ladies that Mr. Kelly bought were attending the games, they would sit in the chairs behind the basket.
Off to the right.
And sometimes the ball would get loose and go in that correction. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
When the ball got loose and went in that direction, they would try to get themselves out of the way of the ball and the people chasing the ball. Am I correct?
Yes.
They would turn their bodies and look towards the wall as they were turning their bodies. Am I correct?
Correct.
That's it?
All right. Any redirect?
Just very briefly.
Go ahead.
You were just asked some questions about basketball court at your house where the defendant would play games. The chairs where these females were sitting. Can you tell the jury again where that was?
Kind of like underneath the basketball to the right.
While the games were being played, which way were the females facing?
Facing the game.
And during this game, Was anyone, all the players playing,
Yes.
passing the ball around,
Yes.
shooting the ball?
Yes.
Who, if anyone, did the females cheer for?
They only cheered for Mr. Kelly.
No one else?
No one else.
You were asked some questions when someone would have to get the ball, it will go out of bounds or whatever. Do you recall those questions?
Yes.
What would those females do when that happens?
Sometimes cross their legs and look at the wall.
And who was approaching when they would do that?
It can be either celebrities or any other ball player may approach.
Any other men?
Other men,
Apart from celebrities.
apart from celebrities.
No further questions.
I have to ask these questions. There weren't any females in the basketball game.
No, sir.
It wouldn't be a fee running to chase the ball. Am I correct?
No, sir.
I'm trying to think if there is anything else before I sit down. I don't think there is anything else, Your Honor.
Okay. Nothing else?
Nothing further.
You can step down. Thank you so much. Next witness?
The government called Lewis.
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Guys, please
There go
raise
my
your right.
Getty's voice.
Come on, Miss Geddes. Come on.
Okay,
We're
we
here
had
now.
Lewis. Jordan? Hello?
Hello.
Jordan, did you want to play Lewis? Okay, we're going to have to dump him out. Huh?
Can you make
Shall I play
Yeah,
someone if they're not?
Go ahead, Geddes. I'm going to dump Jordan out because I don't think Jordan ready.
Please raise your right. Who's going to be the witness? Just read it.
Shall I do? Oh, shall I do one or not?
I do. Okay. With the witness. I do.
I'm happy. Oh, okay.
Whoever. I'll just.
You got that below there too, Lewis. Oh, Lewis called as a witness, having been first duly sworn, affirmed with, was examined and testified as follows.
A couple of things before we get started. Our court reporter takes down everything that you say. So just don't speak too quickly. It makes their job harder.
Okay.
For the same reasons, make sure that you let whichever lawyer is asking you questions finish before you start speaking. Again, so it doesn't make their job too hard. If there's a question that you need to have repeated or isn't clear, tell me. I'll have the lawyer rephrase it. And just do your best to answer only the questions that you're being asked, okay?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hello.
I'm showing the witness only what has been marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 64. Do you recognize what is shown in Government Exhibit 64?
Yes.
What is that?
It's me.
Is that a photo of you?
Yes.
Approximately how old were you when this photo was taken?
16 or 17.
The government offers Exhibit 64.
Any objection?
No objection.
May I publish?
Yes.
I'm now showing the witness only what is marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 64A. Is the photograph in 64A the same photograph as was just shown in Government's Exhibit 64?
Yes. 1 second. Is this a ladies part?
I am a lady.
No, not you, the witness. Hello?
Well, who's
No,
on the stand?
it's a
Because
guy.
I think
That's why I asked, but it's okay. I did ask.
no, do it, because I think this is a ladies. I think this is a lady, 16 or 17. When it said that, I think that's a lady, right?
No,
It just says Lewis.
I think that Lewis is that John Doe.
That's John Doe. That's that John Doe guy.
Oh, okay, all right. Go, go fill in. Go and fill in that part right there.
I
They
forgot.
can be the witness. Yes, they could be the witness.
Okay, where am I at?
Number 16. I mean, number 18.
18.
Mhm.
Okay. Oh, I'm now showing the witness only what is marked for identification as Government Exhibit 64A. Is the photograph in 64A the same photograph as was just shown in Government's Exhibit 64?
Yes. Okay.
Underneath this photograph, is that your true first and last name?
Yes.
The government exhibit offers 64A.
Any objection?
None.
We ask it to be published to the jury only.
Jury only?
For today's purpose, we're going to refer to you as Lewis, all right?
Okay.
Finally, I'm showing the witness only what is marked for identification as 64B. Does 64B contain the same photograph?
Yes.
And below
Okay,
there.
I hear the dog more than I hear you.
Okay, hold
Yes.
on. Put it somewhere.
Okay, we're almost at that marker, the 2-hour marker. We're almost there, guys. I'm gonna wrap
Okay.
it up.
And what time are we going to resume tomorrow?
Once I get to the hotel, because I'm bringing my laptop with me.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you going out. That's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Right,
once I
okay.
bring my laptop, I'll let you guys. It's gonna be the same time, the 7
Right.
o'clock. It's gonna be
Once I
7
get to the
o'clock.
hotel,
I'm bringing my
At
laptop.
7, Sylvia.
That's right.
Great.
I
Thank
forgot
you.
you going out.
Okay,
That's
Travel
right.
World, you have to turn down your thing.
Once I bring my laptop, I'll let you
Please.
It's gonna be the same time.
Okay, I'm gonna have to kick you out for a minute.
Yeah, that's too disturbing, Sylvia, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
Really
So we're going back to
disturbing.
what? Let's go back to 13.
Okay, what line am I on?
Go back to 13.
Okay. And below there does it say Lewis?
Yes.
Government offers 64B.
No objection.
That's in evidence.
May we publish?
Yes.
Speak louder, Miss Getty, please.
How old are you today?
32.
Are you currently working?
No.
Were you previously employed?
Yes.
What type of work did you previously do?
Warehouse management.
Are you married?
Yes.
Do you have any children?
Yes.
When were you born?
February 11th, 1989.
In what neighborhood did you live growing up?
Hazel Crest, Illinois.
Where is that in reference to downtown Chicago?
40 minutes south.
Hazel Crest is south of downtown Chicago, is that right?
Yes.
Where did you go to high school?
Hillcrest High School.
Did you graduate high school?
Yes.
When did you graduate?
May 2007.
So based on being born in 1989, fair to say you turned 18 in February of your senior year in high school?
Yes.
What, if any, interests did you have during high school?
Yes.
No. What? What, if any, interest did you have during high school?
Okay.
I think he got kicked out
He's
again.
gone. Football, basketball, music.
Guys, speak louder, please.
What type of
Miss
music
Geddes,
were
I'm
you?
talking for him now, okay?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. He's not here.
Oh.
Oh, he's back, okay. Oh.
What, if any, interest did you have during high school?
Football, basketball, music.
What type of music were you interested in?
Hip hop. Oh, go on.
Were you interested as a spectator or a performer?
As an artist.
Did you work during high school?
Yes.
Where did you work?
McDonald's.
During high school, when you were working at the McDonald's, where was it located?
Markham, Illinois.
Do you remember when you started working at the McDonald's in Markham, Illinois?
Yes.
When was that?
Sophomore year in high school.
Where is Markham in relation to Hazel Crest, where you were living when you were growing up?
About 10 minutes away.
I'm showing the witness only what has been marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 522A. Do you recognize Government's Exhibit 522A?
Yes.
I'm also showing the witness only 522B. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
What is shown in Government's Exhibit 522A and B?
McDonald's in Markham, Illinois.
The McDonald's where you worked?
Yes.
Are these photographs of the McDonald's, of how the McDonald's appeared when you were working there in high school?
Yes.
The government offers.
No objection.
They are in evidence. You can publish them.
Thank you. I'll start with 522A. I'm showing what is in evidence as Government's Exhibit 1. Do you recognize the individual shown in Government's Exhibit 1?
Yes.
Who is that?
Robert Kelly.
Do you personally know Robert Kelly?
Yes.
Do you see him in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Can you point to him and describe an article of his clothing?
Right there. He has a blue jacket.
Indicating the defendant.
Thank you. Do you recall where you were when you first met the defendant?
Yes.
Where were you when you first met the defendant?
McDonald's.
What were you doing at McDonald's?
Working the drive-through.
Where did you first encounter the defendant?
At the drive-through window.
I'm showing what is in evidence as 522B. Is this the photograph that you were just identified of the drive-through?
Yes.
What happened when you were working at the drive-through when you encountered the defendant?
I was working the night shift overnight. The Maybach came up to the window. It was a driver up there, and the next thing I know, the Maybach moved forward, and Mr. Kelly asked me who was the lady working that was behind me, which was the manager. And I told him who she was. And he told me, "Can I hook it up?" So I went over there and told the lady. She didn't know who he was. She was like Hispanic. She didn't know who he was. So I told her, the guy that sings, "I Believe I Can Fly." And I went back and I told her. She was like, "Yeah, yeah." And then I went back to the window, told him that just wanted his number. And he looked at me like, "You really did that for me?" I said, "Yes." He gave me two pieces of paper, one for her, one for me. He told me hit him up to hang out sometimes.
How old were you when you met the defendant at drive-through at the McDonald's?
17,
What year in high school were you in?
senior.
You mentioned a Maybach. What do you know about a Maybach?
Maybach is a vehicle.
Who was in the Maybach when you encountered the defendant?
Robert Kelly and a driver.
There was also a driver there.
Yes,
You mentioned, had you previously seen that Maybach at the McDonald's?
yes.
On prior occasions, when you had seen the Maybach, where was the defendant at that time?
I would never see him, but it normally would be only the driver that speaks at the window.
So uh, it was the little bit different because you actually saw the defendant in the Maybach at that time.
Yes,
What was on the piece of paper, the two pieces of paper that the defendant gave to you that day?
his phone number.
What, if anything, did you do with those two pieces of paper?
Actually, I threw one away for the lady. She didn't know who he was, so I threw that one away. And I kept the other one and gave it to my mother.
You said you threw away the paper. Did you tell the defendant you were going to throw away the paper?
No,
Why did you give the other piece of paper, the one you didn't throw away, to your mom?
because I was too nervous to call myself.
Did you see what your mom, if anything, your mom did with the piece of paper?
Yes,
What did she do?
put it in her Bible, and she eventually called him.
Were you present when your mom called that telephone number?
Yes,
And were you able to hear the conversation?
yes.
How were you able to hear the conversation?
She had it on speakerphone.
What did you hear your mother say when she called the telephone number that the defendant gave you on that piece of paper?
Objection.
Overruled.
She she was just telling him on the phone how I was a big fan of his music, and I was like a rapper coming up, rapper, and let him know how much of a fan I was, and I would be willing that I would love to work with him on my music.
How, if at all, did the defendant respond after your mom told him about your musical aspirations?
He said he appreciated that he was a fan of his, and that he was going to have a party coming up.
And did he provide you any additional information about that party?
Yes, he told me, he told my mother that me and my father and her could come to the party.
Now, at the time that your mother first called the defendant, had you spent any time in a recording studio?
Yes,
Doing what?
making demos, like one or two songs.
And when you said, did you say making demos? Is that correct?
Yes, demo tapes.
Featuring your music?
Yes,
Did you attend the party that the defendant mentioned in the first phone call?
yes.
Where was the party held?
At his house in Olympia Field,
Where within where within the defendant's house in Olympia Fields was that party?
in the front room, the living room.
Do you remember when the party was?
I just remember it like around the holiday because I just remember it being cold outside and him having a Christmas tree and everything. It just seemed like it was a holiday around that time, maybe November, December.
Of 90 of 26 2006, your senior year?
Yes,
Who, if anyone, came with you to the party at the defendant's house in Olympia Fields?
my mother and father.
And just to be clear, when you're talking about your mom and your dad, was it your biological father or someone else?
My stepfather.
At the defendant's party at Olympia Fields that you attended with your parents, did you recognize anyone at the party?
Yes,
Who did you recognize there?
Robert Kelly and George Daniels. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. George Daniels and Robert Kelly.
Who did you understand George Daniels to be?
Someone that helped develop artists. That's who I thought it was because I heard that he helped artists.
I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 90. Do you recognize Government's Exhibit 90?
Yes,
Who is in Government Exhibit 90?
George Davis.
Government offers Government Exhibit 90.
Any objection?
None.
All right. That's in evidence.
May we publish, please?
Yes.
What, if any, interaction did you have with George Daniels at the defendant's party?
My mom told him she had left she had let him know about my good music. So that I was an up and coming artist trying to get into the music industry.
And did you hear how George Daniels responded?
Yes, he would say we should try to get him to work with Rob. And if he's willing, what do you want to do?
And was the defendant present for that initial conversation between your mom and George Daniels?
No.
Did you have opportunity to speak with the defendant at the first party that you attended in Olympia Fields?
Yes.
And what was the contents in which you spoke with the defendant?
So we had took a picture together. George Daniels had took it on my phone at the time. He had took the picture, and after the picture he just told me in my ear that maybe it would be best sometimes if I come to the party by myself.
Now you said that we had taken a picture together. Who did you mean by we in that sentence?
Robert.
And was George Daniels present when there was a picture taken
Yes. He took the picture.
using your phone?
Yes.
And who was the picture of?
Me and Robert.
And how did it come to be that George Daniels took a picture of you and Robert?
He had told him that this kid is trying to do music and maybe you should give him one shot.
George Daniels told the defendant that you were trying to do music. Is that right?
Yes.
Now you said that someone whispered something in your ear. Is that correct?
Yes.
Who whispered something in your ear?
Robert.
The defendant?
Yes.
What did the defendant say to you?
That it would be best if I came by myself to the party sometime.
And who had you come to the party with?
My parents?
Did you see the defendant again after that party?
Yes.
How did you come to see the defendant again?
My mom took me over there to go to the studio.
How did it come to be that you were going to the studio with your mom?
My mom called him again.
Were your parents were present for the conversation?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you hear your mom say when she called the defendant a second time?
Still telling him that I wanted to do the music and I had been working on my music.
How did the defendant respond during that phone conversation? Hello?
I think he went out again.
Oh. Can we hold on one sec so I grab some water?
Okay, yeah, we can end here.
Okay.
Judge, could you tell me where we're at? And so I could.
We're at the top of, we're at 1816.
1816 tomorrow, guys. 1816.
Yeah, 1816.
1816. Guys, you guys have a good night. Thank you so much for being here. We will continue tomorrow
Cool.
on the
Okay,
You have a safe
thank
trip.
you.
Huh?
I said you have a safe trip, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you guys. I
Train
see you guys
taking that.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right,
good
good night,
night.
everybody.
Good
Good night.
Rhoda,
Good night.
bye,
Bye-bye.
Good night.
everyone.
All right. Love you guys.
Love you
Love you
too.
too.
You
Love you
too.
too.
Bye.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.